Hello, this is Victor at RestoreYourMercedes.com. This video is not about Mercedes. As you can see, you see a bunch of my videos of V8s and V12s, and this is inline 3, so mighty 3 cylinders versus V12, so obviously a keeper, but lightweight. That's what's important. So on the serious note, this is Kawasaki 1100 ZXI engine and 3-cylinder 2-stroke. So I bought the jet ski pretty cheap, and it had no spark. The engine turns, obviously I checked compression before I did anything. Compression is perfect and everything is clean, so I bought it. Now the guy says there's like something going on, whatever. So I mean, I knew what I was buying. I knew that I would have to dig into it. Now the problem is that the stator itself was bad, and I'll show you the stator. That's a replacement piece. Also, crank seals were bad. For example, the rear seal here, if you look at it, it's missing a little spring that goes around. As you can see here, you got this little metal spring here, that little spring, so it's missing it. So it was blowing oil badly, rather mixture of oil and gas. Front seal was okay, but it was also blown by, because you can see the surfaces are like all rusty here. So it was blown oil inside stator case. As you can see, this is a new seal here with the steel spring that holds it together. So in terms of that, that is what I did. Now, before I go to stator itself, how I removed crank pulley and how I removed the coupler. So the coupler was actually hotter than the crank, because I was thinking, okay, I heated it up a little bit, but I only heated up the shaft with a small torch. I mean, people say torch it up, this and that. No, I just did a small torch, very directed one, and tried to do it by holding this bolt. Obviously this bolt came loose first. So next thing was to somehow block the crank flywheel, rather. So what I did is, this is not recommended. I would not recommend it to anybody, but it worked for me. So you take a socket, you just wedge it in there, and let's say I want to tighten it. Socket just wedges in. You see this lip gets caught up in there. What I would recommend, this is not the right socket. You want to have a socket that fits into two sprocket gears, just in between them, so you have better surface. Now the problem with this method is like, if it's too tight, what's gonna happen is either you're gonna break your tooth on the crank gear. Let's say we want to undo the crank, so you put the socket here or something. Let's see if I can, yeah, there it goes. So you put the socket there, and then you actually have it blocked off. Now the problem with this method is that you can crack the case, you can break a tooth. Not good. So you obviously have to use your discretion doing this. I mean, that's not you know, that's not ideal. Some people put chains and stuff like that around them. Some people use power tools, which is also a good idea probably. But again, I don't really care much for this thing. I just bought it because I could, so I bought it. And not like I'm probably gonna keep it for long. It's just for now to play around a little bit with it. If it breaks, it breaks. So that's how I did it. I just blocked the actual crank flywheel, and in the back I just used pipes and whatnot, and I heated it up a little bit, and I undid that thing. Now to pull the crank flywheel, you use a puller. I bought the puller at SBT, and that took a little bit. So at first I tensed it up, and then I used some compressed air. You know, obviously you flip it. Well, again, this is all not scientific. You don't, you know, this is just, you go upside down and you blow your compressed air It's not even compressed air anymore, it's like nitrogen. So it's like whatever it is, you basically freeze it. So I froze it, I tightened it up, I froze it a little bit, and then I tapped it with a hammer, light tap, just like boom, and it came right out. So very easy. So that's what I did on the crank. So right now I tightened it up the same exact way, put the socket in there. I have my torque range, but this goes to 50, so I went to 50, and then I went a little more with the pipe. Again, whatever I'm saying, this is like, you have to use your careful discretion on doing these things, because too much force can break stuff and damage stuff, so you don't want to go crazy. So the seals are replaced, Loctite. I use thread lock blue, that's what I use. I don't know if it's the right way of using things, but I used the blue one, a non-permanent one on the thread here. Liquid gasket, I bought the real one, Kawasaki, just I don't want to take the engine out again. Alright, so let's go back to stators now. So this is how the engine was taken apart. Well, not taken apart. Splitting the crankcase was actually easy. It wasn't really bonded too much, so it opened up well. Bolts are all torqued up to the right spec after the liquid gasket was spread around the case. So everything went smooth. I mean, I have no issues with it, so that wasn't really too bad. I didn't have to remove the head or nothing. It just lowered out the whole crankshaft with all the connecting rods connected. It just moved it like this much out, leaving cylinders in place, and just pulled the seal in and out, off and on, and that's it. Alright, so the stator situation. Here is our bad stator. Now, to check the stator is pretty easy actually. So I wasn't sure what's going on, so first thing I did the seals. As you can see, there is moisture in here. This is gas mixed with oil and whatnot. This is how it looked. As you can see, pretty terrible looking from on the outside, because it was oil and mixture and whatever that was like bad looking. The hole is all flooded with all these chemicals and, like, you know, fuel and oil and you name it. Alright, so exciter coil. You see, I already undid this one. Obviously it's not going in the ski, even though it does work now. If you see, there's a big gouge in there. That basically is a burnt spot. So it's supposed to look like this, just like that. As you can see, nice and solid plastic. Here you got gouge because I worked it out. I wanted to see what's going on. Obviously it was overheated or shorted or whatnot. So this is the actual piece that is supposed to be molded. This goes into the coil. So what you have to do is you basically want to check your resistance on two wires. And again, this is my case, might be different cases, but if you do not want to remove anything, you have red and purple. So you got two terminals that you check resistance in between the two. So I'm not gonna go there, I'm gonna go straight on the coil. So when you connect your multimeters, you set it to about 2000 or automatic. Resistance supposed to be like 400 something. So right now you see my resistance is fine, 456. Let's see if I can get the spec back up here. So the spec, as you can see, is supposed to be 348 to 523. I'm right in between. But when I first checked it, it was actually 200 something. It was like 220 because all of this burnt spot was shorting it out. So once I all cleaned it, resistance went up. So my resistance value is supposed to be that, and it was lower, like 200 something. So it was shorting out, and obviously excited could not get the, you know, the signal up to the igniter, and obviously we got no spark. So if you want to try to do something with it, I mean, yes, you might be able to just clean it all up and see if the coil itself isn't shorted completely. So if you check in between these two terminals, purple or red, it's going to have same resistance as the way I checked it over there. Obviously check the rest, but I'll show you the new, well, not new, replacement stator. This is our coil here we follow the wire. So there's a purple wire over here. So let's see what it is. Let me just, not much space I have here. Okay, so this is our purple cable right here. This is purple, this is red, this is our coil. This one right here. As you can see, nice and clean, nothing is burnt. Resistance was perfect on this one, and it is perfect, so I'm going to use this stator assembly. Obviously I'm going to clean it up. This one, as you can see, much cleaner. Well, anyway, I'm going to also, while I have it apart, I'm going to reseal coolant, then coolant cover. Now, the possibilities of failure. Maybe one of the rectifier is bad, which I'm going to also replace the whole rectifier little thingy that I have to replace, because I'm not sure. Maybe it's shorted out, and therefore we have our coil burnt up. So obviously that would have been nice to check, but again, I'm just gonna replace it. I have no time for that. But I wanted to see why there is no spark. So that was the reason why there is no spark. Maybe I'll make another video after all, once the engine is back in and running. So maybe there is a short somewhere in the wiring in the electrical box, which I also have to investigate, just to make sure that I'm not gonna put everything back together and then it just burns out again. Not good. And so that will all have to be checked out. The rectifier itself, I'm going to replace it, like voltage regulator they call it. So I'll replace it with another used one, because I know parts jet ski, it actually ran, the engine went bad on it, so everything was fine, the spark was there. So I'm just going to transfer it over to the one that had no spark but the good engine block. So that's basically all. The carbs, I'm going to check the carbs and make sure that they all move freely. And this is our, what is this? Oh, this is the working one. So I'm gonna check all the sparks, the carburetors. Like I said, I'm not going crazy. I maybe use it for a season, sell it or whatever. If it lasts, it lasts. Next year I'll put it in the water. So that's basically where we are. No spark. Obviously check the stator. Probably that's where the problem. Sometimes igniter, yes. Sometimes the coils, yes. Sometimes the spark plugs, yes. But if you see a situation where I like open up the seat and I see all the oil mixed with gas and everything there in the hull, on the bottom of the hull, obviously there's something going on there, so it couldn't be like that. So that was my story. So hopefully it helps somebody. Alright, so this is Victor at RestoreYourMercedes.com, now fixing jet skis. Thank you for watching.